Hello again, and welcome to Keep and Destroy. I'm your host, Adam Luff. This is the Gerry Anderson podcast where I interview fans and ask them what 5 would they like to keep and what 5 would they like to destroy. And for this episode, I'd like to welcome SimpsonsClips24 to the show. But before we get started, I have to ask, why the name SimpsonsClips24?
Well, I'm called SimpsonsClips24 because originally my YouTube channel was originally going to be just clips from The Simpsons. And 24 was just an odd number I just picked out of the hat.
It's actually an even number, but yeah, I get your point. When did you first become involved in Gerry Anderson?
I suppose my introduction to Gerry Anderson began in 2005 when I would occasionally catch episodes of Thunderbirds on BBC Two. And then came 2007 when GMTV's Action Station slot would show new Captain Scarlet, but it wasn't until 2009 that I really got into Gerry Anderson's work when I got Lavender Castle on DVD for my 9th birthday, and I've just been going along that path ever since.
Speaking of Lavender Castle, you seem to have a reputation amongst the fandom as the go-to guy for everything Lavender Castle. What is it about that show that stands out for you?
Well, it stands out for me because, unlike other children's shows I was watching at the time, it wasn't really like any other children's shows. It never talked down to its audience while maintaining that fine line between seriousness and tomfoolery.
I don't know if this was a spin-off series or just another show that Rodney Matthews created, but Stanley and Livingston, do you want to elaborate on that show?
Basically, it was a concept that Gerry and Rodney came up with at the height of Lavender Castle, which was about this explorer who was formerly a wildlife telepresenter on the planet Sesquiel, Livingston. One day, this mysterious porcelain ring crash lands on Sesquiel, which is the star flush, which allows its user to go anywhere via the porthole in its sea. Along with this streetwise young kid called Stanley and some other bizarre alien characters, they travel about the universe exploring new places and making new friends and fighting new enemies wherever they find them. But all is not well in the cosmos. Power-mad psychiatrist and fruitcake Dr. Howard Sigmund Lewis has also learned of the Starflush and is now after its secrets. But for whatever reason, Gerry and Rodney couldn't find the funding to make the series, so in the end it was scrapped.
Right, now it's time to start listing what Simpsons Clips 24 would like to keep. So let's start off with number 1. What is it you want to keep?
The number 1 thing I want to keep the most, my favourite episode of Lavender Castle, the Galactinet. It's my favourite because it was the very first episode I saw. It's nice to see Sir Squeakalot and Isambard in the limelight. Isambard is my favourite character, of course.
Of course.
It also marks the first appearance of one of my favourite ingenious machines of the Gerry Anderson universe, the giant robot spider. And of course I also love Captain Thrice's line, "This isn't a website, it's the site of a web, a spider's web."
Yeah, very over-dramatic.
Sproggle's fainting that episode is perfect after Captain Thrice says, "They tie them up with their thread," and Sproggle says, "and then eat them." Looks around a bit, and then just faints. Number 2 is Thunderbirds. Path of Destruction was the first proper episode of Thunderbirds that I saw. You have to admit, though, the crab logger does look sexy looking.
I don't have a fetish for machines, but okay.
I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah. No worries. But, I mean, it's an impressive design. It's also interesting how both the second episode of both season 1 and 2 have a giant machine and they use the exact same music, because it's the Sidewinder music.
And at the very beginning, there's also some music from Stingray. I think it's
the big gun.
Yeah, the big gun. Thank you.
It's used in tons of Thunderbirds episodes, and then they used it for one episode of Joe 90 as well. I also think, because Give or Take a Million is the one that became the finale, unfortunately. If they'd have swapped those 2 episodes around and have Path of Destruction be the finale, I actually would have preferred that, just because obviously it's a rescue operation, the stakes are quite high in the episode, and even the final line in the episode, that would have been a good way just to end the show.
What an organization. International Rescue has done it again.
At number 3 is Captain Scarlet. Flight to Atlantica. Now, that's one of my favourite episodes. Yippee! It's nice to see that Colonel White gets in on the action, and the scenes where Captains Blue and Ochre are drunk. That just made 10-year-old me howl with laughter.
Any favourite moments with them two?
Yep. We have a green light. Yippee!
Very good. I still say that's a great tune. Yeah, I agree with you.
I sort of don't get how the July 10th thing that day is Spectrum's first anniversary, because there are other episodes in Captain Scarlet that take place on July the 10th.
Winged Assassin.
Treble Cross.
And it's also mentioned, even though it's 2058, but it's also mentioned in Crater 101 as well.
Well, I'm waiting for an explanation.
Oh, never mind. I'll tell you about it later.
For my 4th choice, we have Stingray and Raptures of the Deep. Now, I'm going to cause quite a bit of controversy by saying this. In my opinion, most of the episodes of Stingray are a little bit generic. They don't really stick out in my memory. But there are a few, and this being one of them, because it has an amazing sequence where Troy is singing in...
Oh, God. Yeah. I liked the episode, but that singing, oh, God.
I think it's Gary Miller who's singing it.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, when he's singing Aquamarina. And another bit that sticks out in that episode is when Marina telepathically tells Troy about her and that. And that blew my mind as a 10-year-old. My 5th and final choice that I want to keep, Joe 90. Freeze a Crowd. And this episode really stuck out because of its opening scene. I remember thinking that an execution scene was pretty grim for a children's program. But that execution scene really does stick out. Probably because I was a bit of a bloodthirsty kid back then, and still am. I love my horror stuff.
Okay, so we've got the 5 keeps listed now, so let's list what SimpsonsClips24 would like to destroy, so take it away.
So my first choice is UFO, a question of priorities.
I love that episode. So this is interesting.
I mean, I get that UFO is a lot darker than most of Gerry's programs, but the death of a child is something I do not condone with. It is against every
I know.
of my principles.
I know.
Well, that's why the episode works so well, as the death isn't for the sake of it, and it really helps elevate the series by having something that's so gut-punching. But the thing is that Gerry was trying to move away from children's shows, and because of his reputation, people instantly see UFO as another kid's show. So yeah, we have problems. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about this episode?
I never want to see you again.
Space Precinct. The Power.
Yes, the power. Not one of the best episodes, really. There just isn't that much worthwhile with this episode. It's just so generic and uninspiring and... Ooh, hello! I stand corrected.
Adam, for pity's sake.
Just who is this show aimed at?
Again, like with UFO, they have that problem of, is this aimed at kids? And I think Space Precinct looks more like a kid's show just because of the cartoon-looking aliens. Then we have these very serious subjects, whether it's prostitution or drugs as well, stuff like that. So, very inconsistent. I agree with you on that.
I mean, it's not exactly Time to Kill, is it? Because that is a good episode.
I quite like Illegal, Two Against the Rock. Hate Street's a good episode as well. Death Wish, no, not Death Wish. Death Watch.
Yeah, because Death Wish is a film with
Charles Bronson. I love Death Wish. I love those movies. Except the Bruce Willis remake. That's terrible.
You believe in Jesus? Yes, I do. Well, you're going to meet him.
Torchy the Battery Boy. Bossy Boots goes to Topsy-Turvy Land. Now, the episode itself is pretty harmless, right? But there are a few scenes that would have made my younger self a bit uncomfortable. One of them is of an upskirt shot of Bossy Boots. There is a scene right near the very end when Torchy is singing his So Many Naughty Children song where Bossy Boots fires a cannon at the screen and it shatters to bits, and then it cuts to black, and then Torchy just looms out of the darkness, his face blackened, and continues singing. I've seen zombie movies that end like that. Space 1999, and it's Dragon's Domain.
It's a brilliant episode. I love that one.
I must admit, I'm not destroying these episodes out of spite. I would be destroying them out of fear. So forget your Alien, forget your Freddy Krueger and Jason from Friday the 13th. This dragon is the absolute scariest monster in all of film and TV history. And that's saying a lot.
It's very similar to the monster Cthulhu from the H.P. Lovecraft novels. I don't know whether they use that as inspiration, but I quite like the design. It's very simple but effective.
I mean, if I was there afterwards, I would have just made it into sushi.
Do you really want to eat an alien creature?
Gives me heartburn just to look at it.
I mean, it can't be worse than some of the muck they've got on Moonbase Alpha.
Yeah, well, they're welcome to it.
New Captain Scarlet's Reign of Terror. This would have been one that gave my 7-year-old self nightmares. Nightmares beyond compare. So picture the scene, right? I'm 7 years old, and I'm just sitting down to watch New Captain Scarlet. Now, it's a nice premise. They're attempting to make it rain in the desert, but the cloud is taken over by the Mysterons. But when Susan Todd, the scientist, begins seeing all these hallucinations, like Colonel White's just a skull, and the torpedoes are sharks coming towards her. Ooh, boy.
I actually never found the show that dark compared to the puppet show. I mean, were there any other episodes that you thought were just as dark and scary?
I mean, if House of Dolls had been made, that would have just scared the absolute out of me.
Yeah, House of Dolls. That was the one thing that was lacking in Gerry Anson's canon of work. There wasn't that much horror. One of the reasons I love Dragon's Domain is because it's so different. And I think he missed out on an opportunity to have the occasional scary episode. I think House of Dolls should have let that go through, in my opinion. Wow, so that's a pretty interesting list of keep and destroy. First things first, thank you for your time, SimpsonsClips24.
I'm glad to have been here.
As a fan of Gerry Anson, how would you summarise the work of Gerry Anson to anyone that was unfamiliar?
I would say, well, I suppose I could describe him like most people would describe him. A British Walt Disney. Basically, he's influenced my writing, and he's kind of like a second father that I never met.
Thank you for your time, SimpsonsClips24, and thank you, the audience, for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to donate to the show to help it continue, please donate to me on Buy Me a Coffee or GoFundMe. The links are in the description. And this is Adam Luff, signing out.